Hello and welcome to Rewind here at Doha's Museum of Islamic Art. If you've joined us on Rewind before, you'll know that we're celebrating 10 years of Al Jazeera English by revisiting some of our most memorable documentaries of the past decade. One of the first stories we covered was the Myanmar government's brutal crackdown on peacefully protesting monks. News reaching the outside world was scarce, but Al Jazeera correspondent Tony Birtley was able to film the unfolding events whilst working undercover as one of the few international journalists on the ground at that time. From 2007, here's his news special, Inside Myanmar, the Crackdown.
It started as a protest over fuel subsidies. It became a popular uprising against the generals and their policy of oppression. Throughout Myanmar, hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets calling for freedom and democracy. Such gatherings hadn't been seen here for nearly 20 years. The focal point was the former capital, Yangon. At one stage, 100,000 people demonstrated here, and their leaders were the monks, men of peace. They became the rallying point for a nation, worshipped and followed. My name is Tony Birtley, and I was one of the few journalists in Yangon to witness the uprising and the brutal crackdown by the military. The world was moved by scenes like these, but being down there on the streets, among the thousands, you could see the spirit and feel the exhilaration of ordinary people who believed they could throw off the yoke of military rule.
Will you get democracy?
All public want democracy.
Democracy.
The soldier, they're trying to kill the many people. See, they shoot.
No democracy here. No democracy. No democracy.
They shoot No democracy. No democracy. We want democracy.
Very, very dangerous government.
They always understand me.
Yeah.
They always lie.
They were shooting here before.
Yeah. Before.
Anyone hurt? Anyone hurt? Crowd is growing here. They're moving forward inch by inch, and they seem to be testing the military. They're standing over there with their guns ready. Does anyone's guess what's going to happen? This is the second group of monks moving along. The first lot were dispersed by the army. Now they're going to confront the military in the section by the Sule Pagoda, one of the second most important Buddhist symbols in Yangon. This is in direct defiance of the military. Now we'll see what will happen.
For a little while, nothing happened. The ranks of the protesters swelled. They became bolder. But it wasn't to last.
All these people are in total open defiance of what the military have said, not banning more than 5 people from gathering at any one place. Now the army and the riot police are lining up. They're now announcing for the people to disperse or they will move in. It seems as if the start of the crackdown is now beginning.
The government declared already all the rule. More than 3%, 5% cannot stay all together. So now they say within 10 minutes, go back home.
Well, what will they do?
Just they say.
They didn't say.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
With 10 minutes. Later 10 minutes.
Now the public are responding. They're getting the bricks ready. It seems as if they intend to fight.
In 1988, the military killed more than 3,000 pro-democracy demonstrators. That hadn't been forgotten, and it wasn't long before shots were being fired.
The monks are now on a head-on course for confrontation with the military. They've been warned that gatherings of more than 5 people will be not tolerated. They're heading directly now to the Sule Pagoda, where the military have a band. I can hear gunfire going off now. The excitement is rising. There's cheering. Machine gun is being fired now.
Army and police fired tear gas, rubber bullets and live rounds. In the shadow of the Shwedagon Pagoda, the monks gathered, as it turned out, for one last time. They had megaphones to shout out their message for peace and calm. They were faced by soldiers with raised rifles and bayonets. It was monks who tried to keep a tense situation calm. Monks who begged the police and soldiers for restraint. Normally, Buddhists go on their knees before monks. There was no pretense of respect any longer. Some of these scenes have never been aired before. It shows how ruthless the security forces were. Myanmar's foreign minister had told the UN Security Council that police and army exercised restraint. These scenes proved otherwise. Incredibly, some monks fought back. Others escaped during the confusion. Security forces responded with tear gas. Clashes broke out all over the city. Volleys of shots were fired around us and over our heads. Army rapid response units made lightning swoops.
Well running, the army's coming. I think I'll start firing in a minute, I think. We're running out. I've been singing for a while, the head sign saying, "Free our monks." But the troops are running in very fast. Maybe they're stopped.
Here, I filmed while I walked through the middle of the soldiers as they beat and arrested civilians. I kept on walking, but eventually I was grabbed and hauled back. In the confusion, I managed to get away with my camera. At the height of the crackdown, something like 15,000 troops and riot police are estimated to have been on the streets. The government has admitted they killed 10 people, including a Japanese photographer. Observers believe far more died, but it is impossible to say for sure.
I really don't know where all this is heading to. I've just witnessed the arrest of about 8 or 9 young men who were trying to confront the army. The army rapidly responded, arrested them, cut them off, beat them a little bit, and then were taking their documentation. I saw them paraded through the streets. I was trying to film, not very successfully, because if they see you filming, they're going to take your camera. And I'm very aware of what happened to the Japanese photographer, so it's a bit risky, so you film everything from a distance, very surreptitiously. People here are living a drama every single day of their lives, and they've got front row seats. They turn out in their balconies, and when I was filming sneakily, they're all looking at me and smiling, pointing their fingers, sticking their thumbs in the air.
Thousands of people were arrested during the nighttime curfews, and the streets were finally under the control of the military. We used secret cameras to record what was happening. To avoid detection, you constantly changed hats and shirts, never stayed too long in one place, and always checked to see if you were being followed.
A few people have said to me here that these protests are not yet finished. A monk told me that, and some young people. But the stranglehold by the police and the military is so restricting that it's very difficult for anyone to move about, let alone gather en masse in the kind of numbers that we've seen in the past few days. It's a very difficult situation now. People are talking about spies everywhere. They're worried to be seen with a foreigner. They're very concerned about what's going to happen. But still, the hardy few still say they're prepared to brave the bullets and the batons. We'll have to see.
The army is in control of all the main shrines and monasteries. Few monks could be seen on the streets. Hard to imagine in a city where there are something like 75,000 monks. You think protests are finished now? Or you think they will happen again?
People don't like our government. We don't have a strength. We don't have a weapon. We don't have a freedom.
Soldiers and police are reviled here, despised by many civilians for being the tool of the military junta, which deprives them of basic human rights. You wonder how there can ever be reconciliation here. The dire social and economic problems which plague this once prosperous country and which provoked the first demonstrations still exist, visible, prominent, affecting millions of people.
There are a lot of people in this country that need humanitarian assistance, that is for sure. The statistics in terms of malnutrition are worrisome. The formal numbers suggest malnutrition rates broadly of around about 35%. We know that it's actually much more severe in a number of localities. So I think that we're scraping the surface actually in terms of need.
Myanmar spends less on health and education per person than any other country in the world apart from North Korea.
It's quite amazing here. We're in what used to be a capital city. This is not even in the suburbs, it's a short way from the city centre. And you've got some abject poverty and very, very basic conditions here, but even so, all the people here seem to smile. They seem to be kind of happy. I wouldn't say content, but there is a gentleness about these people which makes the situation around here even more difficult to comprehend, and it makes you a little bit angry, I suppose, seeing how they live and how difficult things are. They want the basic fundamental rights that many people in the world enjoy, and it's been denied to them for so long, and probably will be denied to them for longer as well.
Everywhere you turn there is poverty and hardship here, but not for everyone.
So just trying to film some big, modern, luxurious houses. It's such a contrast to what I've been seeing around the city in Yangon. The slums, the poverty, poor conditions, no sanitation. This is really something special. Kind of wonder seeing those workmen on the construction site and how much they're getting in comparison to the people who own those houses, or going to own those houses. Something like that probably would cost about $300,000-400,000, which is an awful lot of money in this country where the average wage is something like $1.50 a day, and that's if you're lucky enough to work. There's very high unemployment here. No figures, no statistics, because the government doesn't release them, but there's a lot of people without work, a lot of people in need of help, a lot of people suffering hardship here.
A climate of fear invades everything here. People are being detained in a number of centres in Yangon, including here at Insane Prison. Many I spoke to feel the treatment of the monks may, in the end, turn out to be the general's biggest mistake.
Do you know where are they, monks?
They are in the prison. Yeah, they kill the monks. They are very cruel. No?
Is this the worst they've done?
No, what's in the world?
It's now finished, protest finished?
No. We never forget.
Never forget.
We never surrender.
Who knows how many have been killed and imprisoned? We may never know.
It's very difficult to have a precise number. The authorities aren't putting out any press releases. They did admit to 10 dead, but most people suspect that there's far more than that have been killed. In terms of arrest, I'm sure it's in the thousands by now. These arrests started in late August, and from what we understand, every night after curfew, they start traveling around the city and picking up more people.
Barbed wire barricades are still around the city and across the road leading to the home of Aung San Suu Kyi, who has lived under house arrest for 12 of the last 18 years. The monks' leaders are gone, left behind are the young and the old, and what the military may think are ineffectual. But the air of resistance remains here.
Monks are not afraid.
Not afraid?
And they stay in the monastery.
Will they come out of monastery?
Yes.
Will they come?
Yes. People and they together will start day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow. They come back to streets,
yes.
protest.
Yes.
They're not afraid.
Not afraid.
But shoot.
Shoot. They shoot and fight and strike.
But the people follow the monks. Follow the monks.
Follow the monks. All the people and monks.
And you will come out of monastery too? You will come?
Yes. I stay in Kepoman Bagura. I stay.
So protest not finished? Not finished.
Not finished.
For sure?
Yes, sure.
So I'm walking up the road now to the Crackdown pagoda, This is about the first time in a week we've been able to do this. Before, the roads were blockaded with crude wooden and barbed wire devices behind which were armed police, and it was impossible to pass. This is one of the symbols of the resistance from the monks, and the police and the army wanted to stop that, but now it's open, and I suppose that's now indicative that the generals, the military junta, have got the situation under control to their liking, that they've got a degree of security now that no one else will come out and protest. I suppose this marks, the opening of this road marks the fact that this protest, this uprising for democracy, has been short but spirited, is probably over now.
Those streets which saw the violent protests are now empty of monks. For a very brief time they carried the spirit of a nation seeking justice and human rights, and they have paid a terrible price, and no matter what political agreements are made, what dialogue is followed, it's a price which will never be forgotten by the people of Myanmar.
A remarkable record of events which helped hasten the end of military rule inside Myanmar. Fiona McGregor is a journalist who's written extensively on Myanmar over the last few years, and she joins us now via Skype from Yangon. Really fantastic to be able to speak to you, Fiona. Thanks for joining us here on Rewind. To what extent did those protests that we saw in Tony Birtley's report pave the way for the end of military rule and Aung San Suu Kyi becoming de facto leader?
I think we have to remember that the military still play a huge role here, and they maintain 25% of seats in the parliament. And I think at this current time, there's a lot of questions as to how much control Dosu actually has.
But how has it improved the lives of people, given that they've now got the democracy they craved for? Has that come with an improved standard of living?
I think it depends very much where you live. I think the military retain far more than a modicum of power. I mean, Do Su has said that from the very beginning, that her aims were to bring peace and bring about constitutional change. And the military effectively has a veto over whether the constitution can be changed. And there's still, in the border areas, particularly Kachin, northern Shan, but also more recently we've been seeing new conflicts in Karen State, and obviously the issues in northern Rakhine. So, these are all areas where the military very much dominate what happens there. So if you're asking, do people in Yangon, have they seen improvements in their lives since the 2007 documentary? I'd say for many people they have done, as long as they're not too actively involved in politics.
I mean, you were saying earlier that the military still retains an awful lot of control in the areas outside of Yangon, in Shan State, in Rakhine. Of course, the Rohingya issue is huge today, and Aung San Suu Kyi comes under a lot of criticism for not doing more to protect the Rohingya people. But perhaps, and maybe you'll correct me here and tell me a bit more about it, perhaps she doesn't have that control in that area.
I think most people would say that she has very little control over the military. They retain power in three key ministries, home affairs, border affairs. They really are an incredibly powerful institution. So I don't think anyone really believes she could stop them acting the way that they want to in areas where there's conflict happening. However, whether she could speak out more in general against human rights abuses across the country, I think many people are disappointed that we're not hearing more from her to speak out against abuses. So.
And if we saw those sort of protests today, would they be tolerated?
I think that's hard to imagine. I mean, even since the NLD came to power, there have been dozens of people arrested for taking part in peaceful protests for things like student rights, interfaith marches, land rights, garment workers. Not particularly, anti-government protests, just for their own basic rights, and we're still seeing people arrested under that. So I think it's unlikely that something on that scale would be allowed to go ahead.
Fiona McGregor, thank you very much for joining us here on Rewind. It's fantastic to get an update on the current situation there in Myanmar. And that's it from this week's Rewind. If you want to watch the other films in our series, you can find them on the Rewind page on the Al Jazeera website. And of course, you can add your own comments on our Facebook page. That's at AJ Rewind. But for now, until next time, goodbye.